Hi, welcome to Life on the Rock. We have a great group here tonight from, we call it Hotlanta, the Archdiocese of Atlanta. Priests bringing a group over here. We love to have them in the studio. But tonight, our guests are Frontline Faith, and it's Cheri Lomonte and Father Jim Evans. Their ministry is to see and try to put in the hands of our troops an MP3 player that has a lot of great religious programming on it. 7.5 hours of prayers and talks, and a whole mass is recorded there for our troops, because there's so few chaplains that are able to minister to our troops, and they need all the spiritual help they can get. So they'll be talking about their ministry tonight. It's good to have you here, Doug.
Thank you, Father. Good to be here.
You're wearing your dramatic black tonight.
I am. I was going to do a little Shakespeare tonight. Wherefore art thou... something or another. That's all I know.
So get ready. It's going to be an exciting show tonight.
Bring forth the sacred guests. Yes.
But I thought for this opening segment, we talk about upcoming World Youth Day. You know, Life on the Rock want to be World Youth Day Central.
Yes.
We've got our website starting to crank up, and you got information there. And we want to tell you about Madrid11.com. That's a great, I think it's .com, but Madrid11 is the official website, and great information there. So go check that out, how to register and everything. But as you know, Doug, I was in Spain a couple weeks ago.
A recon mission.
And eating our way through Spain. Felt like, but we went over there for a conference. They had a conference for the organizers and for press, and so we were fortunate to go attend. And I wrote some blogs on it. You go to the Power and Witness blog. We've got some video. I'm learning how to do it, so be gentle. It was kind of a fun video, nothing too serious, but anyway, we want to promote World Youth Day. That's one reason we went over there. We got some interviews with organizers. And for me, that was a thrilling part of the week to interview Cardinal Rilko, the head of the Pontifical Council for the Family, his secretary, Bishop Clemens. Bishop Clemens was Cardinal Ratzinger's secretary at the CDF for 20 years. And just a delightful person. He gave us a lot of time. We asked him questions, what it was like to work with the then Cardinal Ratzinger. He said, one thing he said was, there was a great unity between his life and what he taught. You know, he's known obviously for his Orthodox theology, and he said his life parallel matched that. He lived it. So, but we went and also saw some of the spots where our Holy Father is going to go in the city of Madrid, and it's a modern city. You know, it's a challenge. And I was thinking, Doug, you know, one of the themes our Pope likes to talk about for World Youth Day, he talks about as being an encounter with Christ. He said that's what it's all about. That Christianity is not just about, you know, a system of ethics, but it's about encountering a person, you know, Jesus Christ. And World Youth Day helps the youth to do that. Mm-hmm. You know, it's very sacramental. You know, you have these big masses. You have sacrament of reconciliations available, adoration. You know, Pope Benedict's big on adoration and has that part of the Mass. You have meditation on Scripture, the messages. Pope Benedict's a powerful preacher. He meditates on the Word of God. And also in other young people, you know, coming together to share the faith. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I know I'm doing a lot of talking here.
No, it's great. You were the one that was there.
Yeah, but one other element, though, too, is that it brings Jesus Christ to this city. Mm-hmm. You know, as I was sitting on the bus, we were going through the city, and I looked, and I kind of thought about that question. You know, can we still reach the modern city with the gospel? Mm. You know, busy, hurried, you know, materialistic, like all our modern cities are. Can the gospel speak? Can it strike to their hearts? You know, and I think young people are powerful evangelizers. Their joy and witness and their own life, you know, they can bring a great joyfulness to the city and really convert hearts. We've seen that before.
Well, and the young people know how to use, you know, our modern technology real well. You know, yeah. They're very honed in on what's going on and what's current, and it had to be quite a rush. I mean, to be going through the city streets and see the old architecture combined with the new, which I always get a kick, especially European cities.
Right.
I've been over there just a couple of times, primarily military bases, but just to be exposed to, and you see this on TV as well, the incredible ancient structures right next to some really modern something or another.
Right.
I'm not as much of a fan of the modern, but it is an incredible expression of man over the years, over the decades, over the centuries. Excuse me, of what man can contribute in this way.
Right, and Europe, has a great historical tradition of Christianity.
Right.
So many people have lived the faith and contributed in art and things.
So many saints have come
Right.
from there. But to look at that and think, here, the Holy Father comes to this place that has, again, this tremendous length of time and diversity and such over the years, and yet Christ is the same.
Right.
And never changes.
Right.
And 2,000 years of Catholic teaching
Right.
never changes.
Right.
Faith and morals
Right.
never change.
Right. So yes, the answer is the gospel speaks to the modern city. And I talked to a guy over there. We interviewed him. He's 21 years old. And I asked him about the youth. And he said he's seen in his lifetime like a resurgence in the faith. That many good young priests are on fire. They do have vocations. Great movements, Opus Dei and things. And so he's real hopeful. Even the city mayor, we met with the city mayor, the big group of us, and he was positive, the effect and hope that this event could have on the city of Madrid. And Spain has been described as the spiritual heart of Europe. They have a great spiritual, John of the Cross and Teresa of Avila and things. So, obviously, this can have an impact on Europe. So many European young people will be there. They can go back home and help to spread the faith. So we're looking forward to this.
Yeah.
We're both going this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
And hoping some of my family, if not all, could come too.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
Work that out.
Working on that one.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a good trip.
Okay. Well, we're going to have a great show for you tonight. We'll be speaking about our soldiers and their situation and how you can support these two people who have such a great apostolate, Frontline faith. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a minute.
I have here with me, ladies and gentlemen, one of the most powerful weapons the military could ever use. If you're going to go into battle, you got to put on the armor of God, but you got to listen to it as well. This is an MP3 player from Frontline Faith, and our guest tonight, Cheri Lomonte.
Thank you, Doug. Nice to be here.
And Father Evans, great to have you on Life on the Rock in the Rock House. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Doug Barry, one of the Rock House compadres, along with my friend, Father Mark. We are the Rock House compadres, and we're in the Rock House, high above the mountains where the time and the sun is always in the same place every show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Great to have you on. This is going to be a great show. I appreciate the work that the military does so much. I have several friends who have been or are in military. And Father, you are a chaplain, military chaplain.
Not on active duty.
Not on active. But you're also what's your rank now? So
Colonel.
That we may all salute you. Colonel Father Evans. Father, how would you pronounce that? Colonel Father Evans or Father Colonel Evans, or is there a proper order to that? Or am I just causing trouble right now?
Just call me in time for dinner and then works fine.
Perfect. Okay. Cheri, let's get right into this because this is a great, great topic and very important. And we want viewers and listeners to really be drawn to this and to respond to what we're going to be asking them to help out with here.
Thank you.
This little MP3 player has, as Father mentioned in the first segment, over 7 hours of Catholic material on it. And you are putting these and wanting to put them, you're already putting them in the hands of our Catholic soldiers and non-Catholics as well.
Right.
All over the globe. And you're wanting to put them in everybody's hands.
Exactly.
Okay. How many military do we have, Catholic military?
We have 330,000 Catholic troops.
Okay.
And we have 281 chaplains, which means there's a huge shortage
Now,
of
people should
chaplains.
ponder that for just a moment
Yeah.
and do the math on that one.
Right.
330,000.
Catholics, and they make up 20% of our military, and we only have 281 chaplains to serve them.
And we have had on the show, we've had a couple of military chaplains on here, Father Ron Comadre and also Father Daniel Mode. And hearing their stories about the work that the military chaplains do is unbelievable. You know, celebrating a dozen masses in a 24, 48-hour period or whatever it is, it's just unreal.
Sure.
And as a priest, Father, I mean the struggle and the battle that they personally must go through, being in that environment, doing the work of God, obviously, so critical, but being human beings. Father, what would you say concerning that?
Well, their job is immense, and they want to be every place they can be, of course. Bilocation hasn't taken hold in the military yet. It needs to. But the troops want to see the chaplains. The chaplains want to be there for the troops. And the simple fact of the matter is they can't be that many places. So we want to assist them any way we can. And by getting these MP3 players to them, they can have 7.5 hours of religious thought, mass, homilies, testimonies, music. All of it's there. And they can use it at their will. They can use it as a basis for a study group. They can not replace the chaplain, but they can hear the voices of caring.
Sure. And that's something that I think is so critical. Anybody knows this. Any of us know that encouragement on a natural level is part of us. It's necessary. I mean, as a father, I have to encourage my children. I can't just, you know, say...
And nurture.
And nurture, yes. And that works through voice, through touch, through communication, and all these different respects. And so we cannot just assume that these tough and rugged and well-trained military personnel are out there and, they can handle it. They can take it. There's no problem. They're human, and they've got the struggles, and they're in a very difficult environment. I mean, we in today's world have to know that the day-to-day, the business life, going to work, coming home, going to school, whatever it is, we have our struggles.
Sure, and we hear from them. And what they tell us is that they need spiritual support. They've used the word, we're spiritually deprived. That's a quote directly from some of our military personnel. So they need something, and what better? You know, you were talking about technology earlier. I mean, this is what they do. It's, as you can see, it's just the right size. They can put it in their pocket and plug in anytime they can. We've had military say, "I have a little prayer group I do at night. There's 6 of us. Could you send me 6? I have a little prayer group. Could you send me a dozen?" You bet we can. And we do it for free. We want everyone who wants one of these. We want them to have the Mass. We want them to have the Rosary. We want them to have their prayers that they're used to. And this connects them also with their family.
And Father, you yourself have recorded a powerful review of the conscience on here. Is that correct?
Examination of conscience is my contribution to that particular MP3 player. And one of the things I would like to point out is that each of our individual troops, the men and the women, are more than a single individual body and mind and soul. They are also the entire family. They are the children left behind. They are the wives. They are the husbands. They are the mothers and fathers of them who are on the front line. And as a composite, it's huge. And so these MP3 players represent a seed. And this seed, now being planted, is going to grow, we hope and pray, into a huge ministry which is going to encompass the entire fighting men and women. We always say that, but how about the grieving men and women? How about the lonely men and women? It's going to encompass all of the expressions of faith, hope, and charity that we want to make sure are there.
Right. And this has not been going for very long. I mean, Cheri, when did this all begin?
A year ago, April, someone told me about, it was a phone conversation, about our troops not seeing a priest, sometimes for 7 to 10 months. And there's very few times in life when you hear a piece of information that, one, you think you must be mistaken, or 2, it makes you come out of your chair. And I came out of my chair and thought, are you sure about that? And I checked into it, and that was happening. And I just, it was one of those special moments when the Holy Spirit says, you've got to do something. And so for about almost a year, we collected 7.5 hours worth of audio to put on here. And we just started giving them to our troops this last July. And we have 7,000 out there so far.
So the idea just came to you. They need something. I know, an MP3 player. But I mean, how did that come about? I mean,
well, there is a story there, of course, because I don't it's not in the carpet for me. Do MP3 players.
It's written in the clouds.
Yes, no, that didn't happen. But I do a radio show called Mary's Touch, and I'm from Austin, so for our homeless, the Christmas before, we did little MP3 players for them with appropriate stories that could encourage them and give them, some of their faith back. And so we'd already done it once, and so I thought, why not do it for the troops? So it was just another application of something that we had done.
Sure. And you've had 7,000 now have gone out.
Yes.
But
yes.
you say you're back ordered.
Yeah,
why do you put it in those terms that you're back
Because we can't make them fast enough.
So the requests are coming in.
Yes.
Describe some of the requests, Father, that have come in and how you're hearing about this.
Well,
now that the word's out.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things I'd like to mention is that when Cheri and I first talked about this program, and she said, we need to contact the people who would use them. We need to get to the chaplains in the military. And it just happened that at that particular time, I'd had the privilege of being in Washington at the Pentagon, and I had spoken with Father Rutherford, who is General Rutherford, and who's the ranking Army chaplain in the U.S. Army on active duty. And he was most gracious, and we talked about the needs of our chaplains and some of the places they were serving. So when Cheri mentioned this, I said, why don't you call General Rutherford? And so I gave her the number. She called. He picked up the phone himself, and he listened, and he said, it's a great idea. That week, a letter went to every military chaplain connected with our Army, and it was born.
Wow. And so now the requests are pouring in.
They are, and the first request came from the chaplain saying, could you send me 100 players? Could you send me 300 players? And then it was, can you send me as many as possible? And then we started hearing from the military themselves, and they were asking for them, because they'd hear, my friend has one, can I have one? And then we started hearing from the mothers.
So these are individual
and the fathers.
soldiers then?
Yes, we usually, but
you.
for our chaplains, we send them in boxes of 100s. But we'll send out individual ones. As I say, our goal is to get them into the hands of our military. And now the mom and dads, they go, or they'll say, my son's been away from the church. Would you send this to him, but don't tell him it's from his mother.
So if he's watching right now.
Yes. It was from your mother.
Oh, no. We blew it. But you've seen not just the groups that are being asking for it now, you're seeing the individual ones, and the chaplains are asking for it. And you have not even spoken, because you do travel and speak in parishes.
I do.
So if anybody wants to get you to come to their church to speak, or a base or somewhere, you're more than happy to go out there and get up there and ask for the contributions. Because you need, ladies and gentlemen, they need donations to pay for these, correct?
Right.
Because you're putting them out there free of charge.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes,
so,
we are.
Okay, and I'm really intrigued by the one story you told me before the show, that you had spoken at a church and you raised, several $1,000s, and the very next day, this was the first church you spoke in, correct?
Yes, it was my own parish at Emmaus Church in Lakeway, Texas. And I got up the Sunday and I said, this is what we're doing. Would you just take $20 out of your wallet or your purse? Let's make this a grassroots effort. They cost $24, to make and for everything. But I said, just $20. And that morning, we raised $11,000. That's how dear the military is to. You can ask anybody. All the music that's on the player, everybody donated. They donated their music. Anyone that we have on here, they said, let me help you. I think we all pray for our military. I know most people I know do. But they also want to do something that's tangible and lasting for the soldier. And they can see this. So, yes, and if they want to send their donations to frontlinefaithproject.org, I sure would appreciate it.
Frontlinefaithproject.org, ladies and gentlemen, frontlinefaithproject.org. If anybody out there watching or listening has ever had a moment in your life when you have felt down or discouraged, lonely, upset, something, and you've turned on a radio and found a Christian station or a song, or you've heard a homily or the preaching of a priest or somebody that has said something, and that has gone into your ear and into your head, and reached your heart and affected you in a way positively, lifted your spirits, gave you hope, gave you encouragement, gave you courage, then you know how important something like this is. And when you consider where our soldiers are at, oftentimes, especially right now in the Middle East, and you have people anywhere stationed away from families, a lot of them young, a lot of them right out of high school maybe, think of what this could do to help lift their hearts and their spirits and keep them on the right track. Bring them back to the faith. Be part of that. Be part of that. That's my plea there, because this is critical. This is essential stuff. This is great stuff.
Well, and a lot of our military, they are very young. And after they go to our website, the first page, they then hit, I want to learn more about my Catholic faith. So think what this does. You know, we can help our brothers and sisters with their faith to learn more about it. But you know, when a chaplain is giving these out, he's going to give you one, and if this person right here isn't Catholic, he's going to give him one too.
Sure.
So it's a great way to evangelize.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is what it looks like. This is what's going out then, correct?
Yes.
So you got the MP3, you got the earbuds, you got a little strap that goes in there, and there's some booklets in there as well. So it's quite a package. I mean, this is a nice.
Thank you.
This is a nice display. This is really put together well. And it looks like the little pages of a book. Artistic and nice.
Isn't it neat? I love it.
Yeah. Who did the design work on this?
Well, see, there again, when we started with this idea, I thought it's going to really have to be, when I work for Mary and Jesus, it has to be the best. So I went to an advertising firm in Austin, and I said, would you do this for us? And of course they said yes. And they came up with this packaging and the cross, which is the double F for Frontline Faith, but it looks like a Byzantine cross, does it not?
It does, yes.
Yeah, and so we have so many people to thank. So there's also a lot in here about who we're thanking for helping us do this.
Now, why did you go with green? I don't understand that. Is there a reason behind the green for the military? Oh, I get it. I get it.
Oh, good. For a second, I was worried about you.
No, I do understand it. I do understand it. The name Frontline Faith, obviously, Frontline and such.
Yes.
Any story behind that, or it just made sense right off the bat, or did you have to pray for that one hard?
Well, they helped us with the name also, but this is where it was going. So how perfect.
Yeah,
and just like you said earlier, you know, it's the best weapon that we can take to the front lines.
Absolutely. Well, this is great. Ladies and gentlemen, do not go away. We will be back after this break with more on Frontline Faith and what we can do to help our men and women across the world in the military find God, stay close to God, or come back to God. So back after this. Don't go away. Very good thing we're doing. Very good. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Life on the Rock. I'm Doug Barry, along with Father Mark. We are the Rock House Compadres, and this is the most important show you could be watching or listening to at this moment. You know that. With us tonight, we have Cheri Lomonte.
Thank you.
And Father Jim Evans, correct? And with Frontline Faith, and you got a fantastic ministry going here. This is what's so exciting about the creativity God gives human beings. You know, He gives us the ability to come up with really great ways to make Him present in this world, and under the most difficult circumstances, even such as someone away, you know, in the military in a tough situation. But the content on here, powerful, 7.5 hours of great material, the Mass, the Rosary. And Father, you said you were at the website checking some of it out?
I did. I went to the website and was listening to it, and it was very moving. They had some young children saying prayers, and they had nice piano music in the background. But it struck me as how much more powerful it is to hear that human voice than just to read it. You know, to read something out of a book sometimes can be dry, but you hear. I listened to a little testimony of Guy Gruters, who was in a prisoner of war camp, and he obviously could speak to, you know, a soldier, you know, in a deep way. So I just thought it was just a super content. I mean, it brought me to tears just listening to it. And I'm not in some desperate situation, you know. That, but it's like you said, how powerful a word can be in our lives. You know, God can use just small little bits to really strike our hearts.
Well, and everybody knows that. We all know, you know, when someone calls you at the right time and just says, "Hey, I was thinking about you." Oh, whoa. Just having someone thinking about you lifts you, you know?
Maybe, Cheri, could you, yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, it's an expression of care that somebody, another human person's caring about you. But could you comment about those children in the prayers they said?
They were so very special. I called a teacher at a school and I said, what I'd like is the children at the school to write either a letter or just to write to a soldier, and then everybody wrote, and I had this stack, and it was so hard to pick out just 7 or 8. But, you know, children don't have the filters that we do, and they speak right from their hearts. And they all said, thank you for keeping me free. Thank you for defending my country. I mean, it was great. And one little guy, Sebastian, he started out by saying, Dear Dad. And I thought, oh. I said, where's your dad? He said, Afghanistan. And then he read his letter, and he's only about this tall, and he said at the very end, Dear Dad, you know, please exercise every day and stay healthy so you can come home to me safely. But I thought, exercise, yes, he's getting his exercise and stay healthy. But wasn't that beautiful, so you can come home to me?
Well, and this is the sort of thing that's also important to remember. We hear numbers oftentimes. We hear numbers of troops, you know, how many are here, how many are there, how many have suffered, how many have been injured, how many have died. We hear this all the time. You hear about how many troops were lost in the invasion of Normandy on D-Day in 1944.
Sure.
They're all people. They're all individual human beings with hopes and dreams, and mothers and fathers, and brothers and sisters. And they all have hearts and passions and desires and talents. And it's not just numbers, ladies and gentlemen, the people. And these people need our help, just like we all need help from someone sometimes. But this is a very unique situation, and we have a tremendous blessing in this country with these men and women who have given so much of their lives to do what they do, to give us the ability to even sit here in this studio and do this show.
Exactly.
Years ago, I had a gentleman from Iraq send me a letter, and I had a CD of mine had made it his way, a talk that I gave on fatherhood. And he said it really struck him and made him really, you know, when he gets back home, wanted to really step up his life as a father and this and that. And then he thanked me at the end, and he said it does my heart good to know that I'm over here doing this, so you can have the freedom in America to do these things, like put out this CD. So it is something that we just cannot forget. And this is, like you said, a very tangible way.
Sure. And we hear from them, and they say, thank you for praying for us. Thank you for praying for us. And then they say, and please remember to pray for my family.
This is from the soldiers themselves.
Yes.
Soldiers themselves. We hear from the chaplains. We hear from the soldiers. We hear from their families now. More and more letters like that are coming in. One Marine Corps chaplain wrote in, and he said, we all know that prayer is the best support. And indeed, when you send us the oral message, we know that you're praying for us, and this is something that we can pass on. You know, whenever we make a visit, whenever we're with others, one of the best things we can do is we can look them in the eye, we can be with them, and if we can reach out and we can touch them, that adds so much. And if we can't touch them, then let's send them God's hands to touch them. I've been a parish priest in the Catholic Church now for about 17 years, late vocation. And one of the things that we have found is that by having a target like these MP3 players, they've helped so much, because we've brought Veterans Day Mass to the parish. And this has reached out so many people. I've never seen so many people from other faiths come to a Mass that we've celebrated than on our Veterans Day now in our parishes. Well, at least the parishes I'm in. And they have responded to this, and we use this as an opportunity to tell them about Frontline faith. We see the respect that people are regaining for the military and what they've done. Last July, I had the privilege of standing at Normandy, looking out over the graves, looking at the beaches where the troops landed, standing in the bunkers where they went down. And all of this really was a powerful, powerful message. And it brought home what Cheri has started here. And by the time I got back, I was really ready to jump on board and push this program as hard as I could. And our parishes that we've been in, they're so responsive. They're eager to do something. And many times people have felt frustrated. You know, they're watching the news, and there's probably nothing more frustrating in this world than watching the evening news. And you know that you want to do something. You want to be able to help. You want to touch the people. Right. You want to offer our troops something. This is a way. FrontlineFaithProject.org.
Okay, FrontlineFaithProject.org.
Right.
And you say each one of these little packets costs how much to produce?
Well, we ask for a $24 donation, which covers, that also includes shipping. You know, and some people say, boy, that sounds expensive. And it's not for a player. And we try to keep our costs down. So, because everything we spend, we want to make sure it goes to a player that gets in the hands of our military.
Well, let's put this in perspective, ladies and gentlemen. $24. How much is a cup of coffee from one of your fancy coffee shops? You know, how much is a movie? How much is going to lunch? There are people getting a coffee, going to a movie, and having lunch. And in 1 week's time, easily, we can sacrifice just a few of those things and have the money to cover one of these MP3 players, get it into the hands of a soldier, and who knows what kind of conversion could take place. And as you said earlier, Father, maybe before the show, that these are seeds being thrown out there, and that they will grow and they will bear great fruit. So this is not that big of an expense for any of us to kick a little money into this project. And there's enough out there, and as the saying goes, many hands make light the work.
Right.
You know, we get enough people just putting $20, $25 in the till there, and you know what? We're going to cover thousands more. So what is your goal overall then? Your goal is to get the whole world covered with these.
Exactly. Well, at first I said I want 330,000 of them in the hands of our troops. And Father said, no, that's just Catholics. Let's get them all into the hands of our troops. So
absolutely. The politicians say a chicken in every pot. We say an MP3 player in every man, woman, and child who happen to be out there defending the United States of America. And don't forget, we want them and their families too. The families want them. And that's over 1 million that we would like to have going out there.
And it could happen. It can happen.
It's going to happen.
It should happen.
Yes.
Yeah. And really, if you again consider, for example, there's a big game coming up in a week and a half. No, in about a week. No, in a few days actually. I'm sorry.
Will it be played in Texas?
Yeah. And they got a football field down there they built. They cost a few dollars. I think they displaced dozens of homes to build this thing. It's a $1 billion stadium.
Do you think they could put FrontlineFaithProject.org on that screen?
Great idea. Let's do it.
We need some brave Catholic football players to put it on the back of their helmet or something in the game. Just right on the back there. But
we'll get a player to every member of the winning team.
There you go. I like the way this is moving right now. Okay, what can we do next? But it's true. If we know how much money is going to be thrown into that, how much money is thrown into one commercial spot, one 30-second commercial spot. In the past, it's been $1-2 million for one 30-second spot for the Super Bowl. Okay, that's the kind of money we have in this country. That's the kind of money we throw around to promote things oftentimes that are senseless, worthless, and even sometimes poisonous to us, spiritually especially. What in the world could we do then as a community of believers of Christ, as a body of Christ, this Catholic faith of ours, to put these excellent sources of evangelization in the hands of people who are fighting for the freedom for us to have a big football game in Texas.
Right.
So, I mean, when you look at it that way, $25, it's laughable, ladies and gentlemen. We need to get busy and step up. And after the show, I'll throw 25 in.
Thank you.
I don't have a lot, but I'll throw that in at least.
Thank you.
At least get that started. So, and I want to stay in contact with you because this kind of stuff dear to my heart. You know, friends in the military and such, and some retired military good friends of mine. So, and we get this connected to my website too. And we'll put a link over from my website from radixguys.com. So
wonderful.
So yeah,
and we also have some testimonies here too, right? Did you want to?
Excellent. Yeah. Let's get into some of that then, because when you hear from the voices of the people, it carries a tremendous amount of weight and impact. Father, what do you got for us there?
Oh, like this is from a soldier. It says, It's like somebody by your side to remind you that there's a higher purpose, to remind you of the hardships that others have had to endure, to make your hardships relatively small, and to remind you of your core beliefs. That's from Lieutenant Loris Laprie, U.S. Army 2nd Cav Division. And we go on and on. I mean, we've got so many of them here. It's really doing a lot of good and is on the cutting edge as far as technology is concerned. They like that sort of thing. This is from a senior Catholic chaplain at Fort Sam Houston in Texas, San Antonio. And so many of these, I'm an Army chaplain stationed at Hunter Army Airfield, Savannah, Georgia. And they go on and says, it is a sorely needed support for our service members. Another one says, I know these players would be a huge morale boost to many of my men of faith, and they would greatly enhance my ministry coverage. Once again, talking about he can't get everywhere, but these help him.
Yeah.
And also, like some Protestant soldiers, have responded to it, and
one of our biggest orders was from a Protestant chaplain.
Okay. Oh.
How many did he want?
3,000.
3,000. Right.
Yeah. Well, and that's obviously, you see the benefit. How do you not see the benefit in something like this?
Right.
We're going to run to a break here right now. When we get back, ladies and gentlemen, we will have more. Let's get into more of these testimonies and stories, because this is the voice of those who have been impacted already with what you've done. And it lets us know just how powerful something like this can be and already is, and the part that each of us can play. What's that website again?
FrontlineFaithProject.org.
FrontlineFaithProject.org. At least go visit it. Check it out for yourself. We'll be back right after this break. Don't go away. We're back, ladies and gentlemen, for our final segment of Life on the Rock. This installment, a very special one. We have Frontline Faith with us, Cheri Lomonte and Father Jim Evans. And this is, again, an outstanding mission that you're involved in here. EWTN does have, make note of this, we don't want to forget this, EWTN has some involvement on the MP3. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I would be glad to, because I want to thank you again. The Mass that is on the recorder is from Memorial Day at the Basilica in Washington, D.C., and EWTN recorded it and then gave us that recording. So we're very grateful to EWTN because it's a beautiful Mass.
Yeah, that's just a great example of how we can come together.
Of course.
We join forces.
Yes.
We join forces to fight the good fight.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Father, a few more testimonies, please, Father, because this is such a powerful way to convey to people how this great little tiny piece of plastic can affect so many lives.
Right. Now, most of these, of course, are from military chaplains, but some of them are from the troops themselves. And like I said, they like the fact that so much of it is the sort of thing that they're into. You know, our young people today like gadgets like this to use, and they understand them, they're with them, they use them in ways that we can't imagine. And I like what you said about the cost, too, because I remember going to Europe first time with Arthur Frommer's Europe on $5 a day. And
How old are you?
Never mind. My horse is tied right outside. But this is from Father Joseph Adams, Army chaplain, currently serving our troops, and he says, I believe is a sorely needed support for our service members, and not only the service members, but their families. And then another one on here that we mentioned before about how much it goes to helping them enhance their ministry coverage by allowing them to cover more ground. And also, many of them have mentioned the problems that our troops are having because of the sudden deployment out of units such as National Guard troops, and what a devastating effect this is having on their families, because many of them have left their jobs here in the United States. They joined the National Guard in their state, That's my involvement, Texas Guard, and they don't keep those jobs. You know, the job is theoretically open for them, but the salary doesn't go with them. All of a sudden, they're over there living on armed forces pay, and it's gone up since I went in, Cheri, thank you, but it's not enough. And so all of a sudden, we have families back here that are on food stamps. They can't make the house payments. All of these things. This is a shame. Shame on our country for doing that to our citizens. Shame on them doing that to these children whose mothers and fathers are suddenly deployed, and they're suffering for it. They're lonely. They're missing them. They're angry. And my dear friends, we cannot afford angry children. We cannot afford men and women coming back to a family that is soon to be broken. Divorce is terrible at this time, and we owe the support to the entire family. The MP3 players that we're working on now are going to be family involved. We want to be able to get these. You know, the military has done some marvelous things in what they call family life or family support programs. But the spirituality is not there except through the chaplain corps. And we must help the chaplains. This is to help the chaplains, help the troops, help the families. And all of these at one time will come into play, because if we see these individuals hurting, we have to reach out. It's our obligation. And we can think back to what Jesus said about, when you were hungry, I fed you. When you were lonely, I visited you. When you were sick, I visited you. I comforted you. When you were naked, I clothed you. Are we doing that? We talked about at the beginning of this, and we're going into battle by putting on the armor of God. The armor of God is prayer. It is support from one another. What are the greatest commandments? Love the Lord thy God with thy whole heart, with thy whole soul, and with thy whole mind. And the second is like unto it. Love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. And there we are, my friends. We've got our charge. We've got our calling. It's up to us to do it. And God is there to empower us.
Right. It's a work of mercy. Yeah, I mean, you described the works of mercy, you know, spiritual and corporal works of mercy, which we're all commanded to take part in. And that might not be something that people look at, sending a little piece of plastic overseas or somewhere else around the world to help a family, but it is a work of mercy to make God present in the life of another person.
Well, we've all heard about if you had the faith of a mustard seed, you could move a sycamore and it would go into the water.
Right.
Well, if you have faith as an MP3 player, it can do some marvelous things for our troops.
Well, remaining minutes that we have left, what are your hopes, even with this show right now, Cheri? What do you hope with the people who are listening and watching this show right now?
I hope everyone will think of this as a grassroots effort, that they will donate to the Frontline Faith Project, that they will consider this a care package for the soul. We send our troops care packages. They maybe have enough socks right now, but they need something for their soul, and it's an MP3 player, and it's the work of the Holy Spirit. And I'm inviting them to be a part of that. I want them to help us.
You know, we've been praying for our troops, as we should be, for a long time. I hope and pray we are. And we pray that they have the strength and the support. And I, you know, in my own personal ministry, Radix, and traveling for, 20 years around the country and giving a lot of talks, I do a lot of family work, a lot of marriage talks, a lot of men's talks, and I have family members coming up all the time, especially mothers, fathers too, but mainly mothers, saying, pray for this person, this person. I don't know how to reach my son. I don't know how to reach my husband. I don't know how to reach them. I'm praying that somehow, some way, God will reach them. This, in my opinion, is an answer to so many other prayers, that God raises up something like Frontline Faith, like yourselves, to step up and say, we'll be instruments to respond to those people who are praying so hard that somehow something will reach their child or their spouse. All those soldiers that are off and away, and I'm sure, Father, you hear this a lot. You probably do too, Cheri. Praying, as you said, that the soldiers are asking for prayers for their families.
Yes.
They know that their wives or children or husbands are struggling back home, don't they?
They do.
They do.
They know that they're in
Yes.
pain, and they know they need support, and
Yes.
something like that can help them as well.
Oh my gosh, yes. And it's not a hard thing to do, as you said. It's not a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And that's the least we can do, because, as you say, they're out there putting their life on the line, and we're sitting here doing a program on faith. And we live in this country, and I get to say anything I want.
Right.
You know, they need thanks. They need prayers. Someone needs to say thank you to them. And I want it to be us and everyone who's listening.
Right.
I'd like to ask you about, I know you were sharing with me how you used to teach entrepreneurship, I guess.
I did, yes.
And could you talk about, this is a unique and interesting ministry. Talk about how you pray and how you've been led by the Holy Spirit to do this. What kind of advice maybe you could give to people at home?
Oh, that's a
in that area?
great question, because I consider this a calling. And I have been called to, I'm married, I've been called to marriage, I have I have absolutely fabulous sons that I adore. And
How do you really feel about them, though?
oh,
I mean, don't hold back, Cheri.
all right. Oh,
Tell us.
they're men now, and they're just such good, upstanding men. I thank God every day for that. But Mother Mary. I've had a relationship with her since I've been in 5th grade, where I asked her if she'd be my mother, and she said yes. And so, I went through life thinking it's almost time to kind of sit back and relax and take it easy. And I also take photographs, and I was invited to take a photograph of the oldest Madonna statue in the United States. So I went to Santa Fe to do that. And the first person, I went into a store because I couldn't find anything about her, and I said, do you have anything on La Conquistadora, on Mary, the mother of Jesus? And the clerk looked at me and he said, no, but why don't you write a book about her? And I did one of these. I kind of looked behind me. I thought, were you talking to me?
You wanted to buy a book.
Yeah, I wanted to buy a book, not write one. But I had 2 or 3 people in the next few days, every day, say, why don't you write a book about Mary? And I start my day with, here I am, Lord, your servant, what can I do for you today? And let my eyes, ears, and my heart be open so I can hear your word. And in 3 days' time, every day I had someone asking me, why don't you write a book? And I got it. And so I was hit over the head, but I think if you pray and you're quiet and things, I had this idea, and when things go really well, no one has said no. This has to be from the Holy Spirit.
Even American Airlines, right?
American Airlines picks them up and delivers them for us.
Yeah.
So when it goes like that, I promise you, it's not me, it's the Holy Spirit. And when you pray and ask God, let me know what you want me to do, really, I think all you have to do is listen.
Right.
Because 10 years ago, I'm not a betting woman, but I would have bet I wouldn't be sitting here with you telling you about Frontline Faith.
Right.
So
Did I answer your question?
Did you write the book?
I've written 2, as a matter of
okay.
fact.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. And where can people go to get them?
They can go to the website, marystouch.org.
Okay.
And then they can go to our sister website, frontlinefaith.org.
Oh, so what was that website again?
Oh, you're good. I love it. It's frontlinefaithproject.org.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just think it's necessary. We're gonna end the show and we'll leave the studio and I'll go sleep in a nice warm bed tonight and I'll get on a safe airplane tomorrow and fly home to my warm house, my safe home, and my wife and kids, and I have the freedom to do that. Nobody checks my papers. Well, the TSA does when I go through that, but it's not a dangerous check. So far. But we don't have to worry about, papers, please, or you can't cross the state line. We don't have those things. Our men and women are sleeping in holes. They're on top of Humvees and they're cooking their meals. They're in incredible situations, ladies and gentlemen. In the last moment, I'm just going to plead with you one more time to go to Frontline FrontlineFaithProject.org.
Frontline Faith.
FrontlineFaithProject.org. I haven't heard it enough yet. Check it out and respond with something. Just something. Be part of this. Let's make this huge. Let's reach these men and women and their families and their children, and let's not let them go. Let's hang on. All right? It's so critical, so important that we join together in this fight to help those who are fighting for our freedoms, to protect us and preserve that. I want to thank you both for being here.
Oh, thank you.
Really,
Thank you.
this was just a fantastic ministry here.
Yeah.
And just keep it up and keep us updated, and we'll do what we can here with Life on the Rock to help keep it going for you.
Thank you so much.
Father, it is in your hands to end the show for us.
Will the Lord be with you?
And also with you.
And also with you.
Our Heavenly Father, shine His face upon you and give you His peace, and send His Holy Spirit into your hearts. And may Almighty God bless you, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
We'll see you next week.